Welcome to the Farm Station Podcast, where we focus on getting started on homesteading, growing, and living the sustainable dream. I'm your host, Wendy Literal. Let's get started. So let's start first with what makes a farm or a ranch or a homestead. Like, what is the definition of them? Which I know seems obvious, but we have to define our terms so that we can get into this podcast. So what you're looking for in any of these cases is a piece of property that contains your home, your land, and your land's assets. And those can be things like water, wild animals, natural plants, crops, utilities, pastures, outbuildings, so on. Like, if it's on the land, it's an asset, right? A farm or a ranch is hopefully a profitable way to produce crops or livestock and sell it commercially. A homestead is your home, but it's also where you happen to provide for your basic human needs like food, clothing, shelter, just your basic stuff, right? A farm can provide that stuff as well, but it also includes that large-scale commercial aspect. So you can kind of see how there's a lot of overlapping gray areas here, but that's the generalized difference between them. One mass produces and one produces enough, maybe with some surplus, along with a variety in what it outputs. Instead of being focused on selling one thing, a homestead would produce a lot of things. Have a plan. So you're going to roll your eyes at me a little bit here in either a duh, Wendy moment or an Excel spreadsheet nerd mentality moment. But in all my research, the methods people use to figure out what they want in a homestead, a farm, or a ranch is it all comes down to simply creating a plan. Like anything in life, you're shocked. I know. If you're going to go the farm route, the bank is going to want to see your business plan. If you're going to go the homestead route or any of these, you're going to want to know ahead of time if you want livestock. For what purpose do you want those livestock? Are you going to take their fur, or are you trying to, or the fur, the leather, or are you going to sell their meat? How much of it will meet your needs? Do you want to plant berries? If you want to also plant fruit trees or lettuce or tomatoes, you're going to need to know what you want so that you're going to want to know what you need to raise and plant, at least in the most general sense, because you need to know how much level land, how much mountainous land, wetland, dry land, rocky land you need in order to, and how much sunlight and water you're going to need to be able to do the things that you want to do. Those things will very much dictate where you're going to be looking, full stop. This is also going to set your budget, frankly. You're going to want to consider the types of things that you really want to tackle when you get your homestead or your farm or your ranch. It really is dependent. You have to know what you're going to go after before you go, because land doesn't change. Once you get in there, you're in there, and yes, it can change by outside factors like pollution, or maybe they find something on your land or something. It's like those things can affect you, of course, but knowing what you're going to go after, like you couldn't grow, cactuses in Alaska, that kind of thing. So maybe you can. I don't know. I made that up, but you get my point. So you're going to have to really consider the types of things you want to tackle. If you want to grow goats, you're going to have more flexibility than if you needed large pastures for cows. If you're going to grow herbs and you don't need 10 acres, you could get by and save some money by buying 1 to 2 acres and still have a highly productive farm. So you see where I'm getting at, right? Like, what you want to do dictates what you need to do, right? So that's where the plan comes in, just like anything in life, right? So this is what I'm getting at. Yeah, you need to have a plan, but you need it not to just make the powers that be happy, but because it will show you where your heart lies. So you're not just doing it because you're trying to orchestrate something. You're doing it because it will bring stuff to the surface that you didn't even know, right? Like, do you have to move hundreds of miles away to find terrain and a market proximity that will let you run a pumpkin farm? My personal dream. Or maybe your kids are still in school. Maybe you're looking to do this part-time, and being that far away from your job is just not a commute that you're willing to do right now. But you see what I mean about it, making a plan? It's like, once you know what you want to do, then you can start looking at what effects are going to happen in order to make that happen. And are you willing to do those things? Or you need to find another example I have in here is knowing that you want to raise alpaca fur or grow purple broccoli. because it literally changes the landscape. It brings a whole lot of stuff to the surface that you can either choose to work through or work around, but it shapes what you decide to do 100%. I used to want to have goats, and then I did my research, and yeah, I probably would still want to have goats at some point in time, but having a bunch of animals around right now is just, it is just more than this mama can handle. Like, I feel like I could barely hold my own head up some days, you know, and then to add in a whole bunch of animals, I just would feel very overwhelmed, you know. It's just too much going on. So it doesn't fit my current goals, though. That's my point, right? I probably will have them someday when the kids are older, not right now. Not right now when I'm working a full-time job and trying to make the side hustle happen. Like, it's just not realistic. So you got your plan? Great. Now you know what you want to do. Now you got to go find it. This is where you really want the help of a professional. Yeah, there are some realtors literally everywhere you look, but try to find one that knows what you're after and can help you avoid the pitfalls because they know what to look for. Now, preferably someone with experience in either homesteading, farming, or ranching, but that might be hard to find. And that might even mean, so it might mean bringing someone along who already does this for a living or as their lifestyle, in addition to being your new awesome realtor. You know, I mean, the gold mine would be if you can find a retired rancher who turned realtor because of their bad back, you've just found a gold mine. I mean, they will be able to tell you that fixing up this old farmhouse is a realistic dream or not. Guilty. Or you should be able to take this slightly newer fixer-upper in the next county because it already has water irrigation running to its fields. You know, things that you may not think of in the moment, that you're looking at this farmhouse and you're thinking, this is your dream. You want to fix this place up. You want to move in there tomorrow. Like, you know, let's make this happen. And then you find out that the pH levels in the fields are wrong, or that there's no way to get water out there anymore because the well dried up. Like, these are things that you may not think of in the moment because you are new. And you have to realize that you are new and you are going to make some mistakes. Don't make those huge mistakes that could have just been avoided if you just brought a professional along. It's worth the cost. If they're going to charge you, it's worth the cost. Don't just rely on the realtor who just needs to make a sale. You know, even if the realtor says that they have your best interest in heart, and they might genuinely have the best interest in heart, but if they don't know how to do something, or they don't know that something's up, you're the one that's going to pay for it, not them. So, you know, even if it's not malicious, you're still going to be up the creek unless you have all this information at hand. So find someone that knows more than you do and drag them along with you. So, and just to compound the complexity, you're not going to find one property that is comparable to another. They're all going to be different. They're going to be different sizes. They're going to have different features. You're just going to have to choose, again, what you can live with and what you can live without. What you're willing to invest in or repair or install, and what you're just going to have to walk away from because it's just going to be too much of a mess and you know you'll never get to it. Like, if you know that you're never going to finish that basement, then you know that you're really going to be living with less living space than you would if you just bought someplace that had a finished basement. That's what I'm getting at. You know, it's like, just choose the places that are going to suit you long term because you'll be happier with your choice, you know, in whatever way that fashions itself. So pricing. This is where it gets a little ambiguous because on one hand, if you're going to go the farm or ranch route, it's extremely clear. I wholeheartedly say you need to think with your wallet, buy a small, and then when you outgrow it, go get more land or a whole new place that will house your growing adventure, right? Like that entrepreneurial spirit, go for it. Staying within your budget and starting small and growing on that and expanding on that. That is 100%, I believe, the way to go with that. However, if you are buying a homestead, you're more likely going to want to invest in a place that you're going to want to stay put in for a long time. A long, long time. So the thing about homesteading and this kind of lifestyle is that you're investing in sustainability in the things around you. So on you, on your land, in yourself, you know, this is true on a commercial property too. But the difference is that on a homestead, you're more likely to age in place, as Doug and Stacy on Off Grid with Doug and Stacy say. If you don't follow them on YouTube, they're a great place to start. You're going to choose a house that will work for your family now and quite possibly in 10, 15, 20 years. You're looking at this purchase with a long-term lens, like you will build compost bins, sheds, fence lines, herb beds, water purification sources, and comfort and customize your place to your wants and your needs, and most importantly, your preferences, because it is your place. It is your home. It's not a business. It is where you happen to live out your self-sufficiency dream, right? It has got to work for you and yours on a much more personal level. You're not working on maximizing efficiency on a consumer demand level. This is yours. And that changes the money ties as well. So you're not looking at this for a financial profit, but for a personal gain. You're not looking at it like you won't choose a homestead because of the amount of dairy products it can shell out. You'll choose it because it will allow you to make long-term decisions. So you better darn well like it, So that might loosen up your reins on the wall a little bit. But again, in either case, and I really don't need to go too deep into this, but of course, do not buy what you cannot afford. Let me say it again. Do not buy what you cannot afford. You don't want to get in over your head and then be stuck with, this thing that like having an off year that then haunts you for the next 5 years, right? Like you don't want to spend 5 years trying to recover because you bought too much. So the same goes with a homestead. It may be a magical place with a river nearby and trout just jumping out of the river. But if you lose the side gig that was supporting your mortgage, could you still recover? Like if you were out of it for 3 months before you found a new thing, is that going to rip everything to shreds? So that's why you need to buy what you can afford, because inevitably something will happen down the line and you're going to be stuck and you're going to go through that hardship. But you want to be able to weather that hardship. So keep that in mind. So it's exactly like buying a house. Don't buy more than you can relatively easily afford, and have that emergency fund just in case things go south for a couple months. And if you ever need information on finance and stuff, do not look at me. Look at like Dave Ramsey or, just any financial guru is going to outline a plan that says you got to have an emergency fund, because emergencies will happen. They might happen, they will happen. So I think that's where I'm going to end this segment. If you all want to know where I got my information from, I do keep my sources on the show notes. And they're on the website, farmstation.com. And just go to the blog and search in how to choose a farm, ranch, or homestead. And it'll come right up. If you're looking at this older, if you're going to it new, it's going to be right there at the top of the blog list. So other than that, I'll see you in the next one, and take care. Have a good one. Bye.
And that, my friends, was the Farm Station Podcast. Please see our website, farmstation.com, for the show notes, sources, and resources to help you on your adventure. And we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.